Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mental Health Awakening Specials, which is a three-part series. If you've been watching the first two episodes, one each week of the month of October, because it's a little bit different, and this is going to be the finale, and it's going to be good fun. Of course, we'll join with Angela, host as well, and Shaaree, who is our guest today. So Angela, I'm gonna get you to do your introduction, and then we can hand it over to Shaaree.
All right. Hello. I'm Angela T. Jackson. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Tennessee, the USA, partnering with the UK. Glad to be here wrapping up this month where there's been so many different mental health awarenesses or mental illness awarenesses. And I'm excited to jump in here with our guest to talk about what she does in this space, what she does overall, and what suggestions she has for us in terms of our mental health care.
Hey, my name is Shaaree McAlpin, and I am a mental health therapist in Michigan. So my overall consensus is to change the narrative of the conversations that we have about mental health awareness, especially in our communities, for Black and Brown people, to remove the stigma and kind of address some of the things that we go through on a daily basis that I can help them navigate through.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. So it's very interesting because you've got Mental Health Awareness Month over in May. You've got all of the awarenesses with emotional wellness and mental illness right here in October. So tell the listeners and viewers if you've done anything special to raise awareness this month, and then also what you do in general with your practice.
Yeah, so it's super important, like I said, to keep the conversations going, not just for it to be like buzzwords or the month that we talk about things. What I do is try to make sure, which is so great with social media and podcasts, right? It gives you a platform so that you can speak about it consistently and daily. I also do like mini workshops so that people can see that it's not specifically about what you see on TV or about how it looks through a lens of people being in mental hospitals or having the so-called label of crazy, that it can be day-to-day stressors, especially with COVID, what it took on in our minds and how it affected us to this day. So, like I said, my challenge is to make sure that people know that it looks different for every person. It can be a stress of being at work and having to code switch as an African American person to fit in. That can be a stressor, or it could even be the seasonal depression coming up because we live in Michigan and we don't get that sunlight, and that it gets dark really early and dark when you come home from work. So just trying to put together information, because I think that's more of the key, to let people know that there's help available and that it's okay to want that help or ask for help.
Absolutely. You've made some amazing points. And just from that piece, I'm taking away consistency, consistent conversations, consistent care, not just limiting it to certain awareness months. And that is extremely important because guess what? Care, right? Health care is ongoing, right? That mental health care is ongoing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Especially what you said about COVID as well, because I think the stigma around that is a lot of people have forgotten about it, that it still exists today. And I think it's very important to still talk about, because people are, especially at this time of year as well. It is the winter, getting into the winter, where a lot of us maybe, if you have a chronic illness, you might have to be very careful. So it still affects our mental health today.
Yeah, and all of the after effects of what was going on in isolation, trying to get back into that phase, parents trying to help children who didn't get a chance for that socialization. And now they're having trouble with learning what friendships are, learning how to manage and navigate career and family. So mental health is what I said. I don't want people to think that it's only bipolar, schizophrenic behavior, or managing medications. The narrative can look different now that we've had the other stressors and challenges that go on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Shaaree, let's stay right there a little bit where you talked about the seasonal depression, or what some people have labeled as the winter blues.
Yep.
How
Mm-hmm.
how can they recognize that? What is it that they may see?
Yeah. For seasonal affect disorder or seasonal depression, they may see a change in how they behave as far as fatigue, being very tired, feeling blue or down and not knowing why. Like, how people use, and I try to make people put emotions or actual feelings to it is what it is, or I'm feeling some kind of way. Like, if you actually give me what that feeling sounds like or looks like to you, instead of just in vague terms, it then gives you a chance to notice, recognize, and feel and understand how to get help for those kind of things. If you're starting to feel down, and because of being isolated in COVID, we noticed an uptick in alcohol and self-soothing, right? So those depressants also affect and interchange with how we're feeling with the lack of sunlight. We know in Michigan that is really dark and dismal, and we have to increase our vitamin D levels. So that entails going to the doctor, making sure that you get those tests done, because a lot of people don't know about the vitamin D level. So going and making sure you merge mental health with your physical health. So increasing the vitamin D supplement. Also going outside, even though it's when it gets light outside, if you're working from home, getting outside into nature, like maybe just standing outside. I tell people all the time that anxiety can live in your body, right? So you need a outlet for that. So even just doing, and I know it sounds silly, but I advise my patients to do the hokey pokey like we did when we were little. Put your right arm in, take your left arm and shake it all about. You then start laughing like you just did, right? Because it's silly, and your mind then changes. That serotonin changes, and it gives you an uplift. It also releases the anxiety that you're holding, tension either in your neck, body. It then shakes it all about in reality. So those kind of things are, and journaling, like writing and getting that out of your head onto paper, also releases some of that anxiety and depression and feeling like you're all alone. Getting some support, call your friends, like have a planned date to go and just maybe a coffee house for an hour, but being able to get out of your environment, talk to somebody, and then begin your work week.
Wow. Wow. This is going to be an amazing playback, because there's so many suggestions there. And,
Right. Yeah.
I found myself just tickled when you brought up the hokey pokey.
Yeah, the hokey pokey. Like the things that we used to do as children, there was reasons behind that we didn't even understand. But once you get that knowledge and understand it, and you don't have to make it for your clients like a whole ordeal, just make it fun. And sometimes as clinicians, we sometimes use our knowledge in a way that people don't, they feel overwhelmed. They're already coming to us for that overwhelming feeling, the heaviness. My job is to make it a soft place. My job is to embrace. My job is to give you tools that you can use on a daily basis. Like who can't do that? Shake your arm. Who can't do that? And that's the kind of therapy that I use.
I like that. I like that. It sounds like you are very intentional, even with your approach, because a lot of times, oh my goodness, I was in a situation where I was working with a dad and the child, and the child kept saying, "What is she saying? What is she saying? What is she saying?" And that was the cue that I needed to change my language in the session,
Mm-hmm.
especially with a child present, right?
Right. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
being intentional, even about the approach, like you said, the softness, the comfort, the care, and that may be the only place that they get that sort of feeling and comfort. So that is absolutely needed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. I like it, girl. Yeah, you got I genuinely laughed.
Yeah, you can't hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. You're either going to be sad, laughing, like the emotion part. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely you start doing a childish game, even skipping rope. Like you don't have to make it like exercise. Like you can go outside and do a little double dutch or do a skip rope right quick. Don't make it like most of my clients have that big picture image like, oh, if you want me to start an exercise program, I have to go outside. I've got to join a gym. Listen, sis, I have to exercise too. I'm not telling you nothing I wouldn't do, but you definitely can go outside and walk down the block, come back. You don't have to make it so big. Like
Yeah.
us for mental health, we changing the narrative and the language to big picture had a whole wall to small picture. Let's make it brick by brick.
That's it. That's it. Little bit at a time, small steps. Mason, now I know some of the games we play in the US may be different in the UK, but you tell me, are you familiar with the hokey pokey and things like that help you move your body?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I have heard of that. Yeah,
Mhm.
rings a bell.
Yeah. Yeah, rings a bell. I thought I saw you smile too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Even getting
Awesome.
outside and screaming. Like I tell them, like, listen, when you're feeling that and you label or put an emotion to how you're feeling, or if you can't do that, just go out your back door and just let out a scream. Let it just go. Imagine yourself, it's a balloon, and you just screaming it out as loud as you
Yeah.
can. And
Yeah.
then take a deep breath and come back in the house. Those things make a difference. Have a cup of tea. Like literally have something ice cold. It just, there are little techniques that you can use to help you with elevating your mood, decreasing feelings of depression. And you still have to speak to a licensed clinical therapist, a licensed professional counselor, because we also have other tools that can help you to adjust. And you might need meds, we don't know, but being able to have that space with someone who can diagnose and assess what you're going through gives you a better navigation tool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely, oh goodness, the benefit of holding space. There's so
Yeah.
many amazing tools and suggestions and ideas that you've given. Talk a little bit about journaling. You said something that I often say. I like the idea of painting the picture for people, of taking what is in your head out and putting it on the paper to better organize it and see exactly what you're thinking. So talk a little bit about journaling and your personal connection to that.
So she knows that I have a workbook that allows people to go step by step in order to journal. It also gives one major thing that I love. I have them write themselves a love letter. And people find that really hard to do. But once they go through the workbook and take the steps, then they start understanding how to love yourself and what that love looks like. Because people say all the time, I love you, or I'm in love with you. but people are loved differently. So what do you need in order to feel love, which could be security, safety, all those pieces. In addition, a lot of people feel like journaling might be a task or a chore. Like, I love to write, but somebody else may not want to do that. So
Mhm.
in my practice, I've developed another form of journaling where you take your emotion and give it a color, right? So if I'm feeling sad, that might be for me the color blue, it might be the color red. Use a colored crayon, a colored pencil, and you get you one of those the sketchbooks that have blank pages, and you just scribble out, doodle out all on the page with that color until you are finished with that emotion. You write the time down and what you were doing before you started feeling like that, so that we can go back through your color journal and figure out if there are patterns, if there are triggers that made you feel this way at this particular time. So that's an easier way to kind of ease into the journaling experience. Some people don't like doing that. We all have camera phones, right? So incorporating nature, being outside, go outside and take a picture of what you're feeling. Look around, invite yourself into the environment to kind of figure out how I'm feeling today. Take those pictures and look back at the pictures and see what was going on. So there are several different forms of journaling that you can do that I don't think enough people talk about when they talk about journaling. So people get put off and think, dang, I don't feel like sitting down writing that out. But there are different forms. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. I have heard people even say how they are not interested or they don't like prompts. Oh, somebody's telling me what to write. Somebody's,
Mhm.
or they prefer, some people prefer prompts
Yeah.
or, like,
Mhm.
as you said, a workbook, because looking at a blank page just leaves you there sometimes, just in
Right.
that blank state, especially if you're feeling unsettled, if
Yeah.
you're unsure, and as people often say, feeling stuck, right?
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
may even translate into what looks like a writer's block. Like, I don't even know where to start.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Having the different options is awesome and beautiful idea as far as taking a picture of what you feel like, even in nature. It makes me think of I had an art teacher who was also a counselor. That's kind of a little bit of motivation there, kind of just the way that she facilitated class and connected with all of the students, even on a therapeutic level in some sort. It was truly caring, truly empathetic, was concerned about how we felt and how that translated in the work that we were doing at the time. But she would always have us check in terms of a forecast. Today, are you feeling windy? Are you feeling sunny? Are you
Hmm.
feeling cloudy? And so that would give you that image, like what you're talking about, and
Hmm.
prompt a little bit more thought, prompt a little bit more language around that. So, ooh, yeah, great idea. Great idea. I love that. I love that.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. There's so much like I liked when Shaaree was saying about you just go in the garden and just scream out how you're feeling.
Hmm.
Because we find out a lot of time in life we don't do that. We worry about what other people are going to think if we done something like that, if there were
Hmm.
people around. So we just have all those thoughts channeled up inside of us, and
Hmm.
we don't let it out. And I guess when we do, uh, scream or go into a field and scream how you're feeling. Um, it's just, I guess, rewarding that you may still feel those thoughts inside, but at least I guess your anger towards them, or all those emotions at the same time are kind of let out a little bit.
Absolutely. That's that. If you think about in a lot of my therapy, we talk about behavior changes, learned behavior. When you were little and you were screaming or you couldn't manage your emotions and you didn't know what to do, so you would scream or you would act out. You would get in trouble for that. So you were taught, do not scream out, you sit down, you follow the rules. And that then changed our innate nature of being able to release emotion through our primal screaming and being able to release all of that tension from being able to move and emote how we feel. So those learned behaviors can be reversed once we realize that it is necessary. Everything that we do when we were little is what we're supposed to do still as an adult to be able to handle our emotional health as well as our mental health.
Wow. 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 I can
Oh, you're so
recall.
good for my mental health. Like, I love this.
Oh,
Wow. Like, what? Carry you in my pocket. I need a pocket you.
sis, yeah, I'm the biggest cheerleader, especially when it comes to mental health. The conversations, those difficult conversations that need to be had. And you are just prompting so much thought for me because I remember being told, you don't have feelings. So, what do you do with that?
Mhm.
Even as a kid. So, to adults now who have grown up with certain um, learned behaviors. And as you said, dealing with underserved communities, Black and Brown, or as we say, the BIPOC communities,
Mhm.
for those of us who have not even been taught or there was no real navigation of how to control our emotions, what do you say
Mhm.
in those areas? How do you make the shift when it seems like that learned behavior is automatically just that default? How do we make those changes?
So once again, like I tell my clients that you have to start by yourself, but you don't have to do it alone, right? So me being your therapist, knowing that the shift has to be made when you're feeling that and you feel that automatic default, like you said, to not do that. I definitely advise my patients to call me. Listen, let's go through it together. I'm walking out the door with you. I'm going to scream with you, and then I'm a hold space with you. So just having somebody that they can pick up the phone in that moment and say, listen, I know you said do this, but then having somebody to say, just like when you were a kid, if somebody told you it was all right, go ahead. Yeah, you can do it. I'll do it with you. That gives people the opportunity to feel your brain changes and says, oh, if she's doing it and she a professional, I'm gonna do it too. Like when you go to a medical doctor, sometimes they just prescribe something for you. You go fill the prescription and be like, oh, I'm gonna take this because that's what was prescribed without going through, dang, what is this supposed to do? We don't read all the safety labels and go through, oh, this could cause this. You do it because you feel like the doctor is knowledgeable of what is good for you. So, in saying that, having the space to walk through with my clients gives them that hand holding to say, this is good.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is very awesome because it's good that it teach people they can do these
Mhm.
kind of stuff. Because if there was no education or there was no way to talk about it with other people, they wouldn't
Right.
know it's okay. It's okay to scream. It's okay to do all these different things, all these emotions, or
Yep.
moving your arm about and stuff like
Mhm.
this. So yeah, it's very good that
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely. Mhm.
It is. So Shaaree, do you think because we have all these mental health awareness months, or we ways of awareness of mental health in general anyway, but do you think that they help to do you think they help to get more people involved with mental health, or do you think people in general are just involved with mental health anyway?
I definitely think that it's always a good idea for it to be a thing, like a buzz, everything. Like even if it's how do they say, any press is good press? So being to say, okay, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, as long as that is continually to be a conversation, then people, we never know who it's going to hit, right? So if you take a whole bunch of gravel and throw it into a crowd, we don't know who is it going to hit at that particular moment. It might be oversaturated and everybody would be like, oh, I'm tired of hearing that. But then there's the one person that hears it and is like, dang, I really want to do that. I need help. So I always think it's a good idea to continue the conversations, to have the Mental Health Awareness Month, to have the podcast, to have the conversations, because people don't know, and they don't know how to get help. Or it, like I said, don't even know that you need help. Because in our communities, I don't know, Angela may be able to attest to it, that it wasn't a thing to be like, oh, I'm feeling depressed today. It's like you have to get up, do what you got to do, and you'll be okay. Pray to God, you'll be fine. And that isn't always a solution, but those are the things that are still being taught. Even with some of my younger clients, there's a struggle between getting the information to the child because they're more receptive to it, and the parent being agreeable to it. A lot of times the parents are like, oh, she just wants attention. There's nothing wrong with her. Right. Who doesn't want attention? But what is your problem with giving it to her? And those kind of things are in tandem, that the child grows up to think the same thing that the parent thinks. And then we have that cycle. So yeah, to answer your question, I absolutely do think that it's an amazing thing that this has been more of an issue, more of an impact, to let people know that we are connected. And if we don't help one, we can't help the masses. So absolutely.
Absolutely. Mhm. Visibility does create opportunity, and that's opportunity to share, opportunity to advocate, opportunity to answer questions, an opportunity to share different perspectives, and a part of counseling and therapy is minimizing those unwanted behaviors and showing, as you said, giving examples and showing people how to cope with whatever those unwanted feelings and emotions are. So absolutely, I agree with you. It's necessary to continue to show up, continue to advocate, and just represent. And I totally can relate and attest to what you were saying. It's been really hard within our community, because I always say that's where the stigma resides. It was never an option. It was never even presented as an option that we could have mental health care.
Yeah.
It was never presented as an option that this was a good choice, a good idea. It was always presented as if it were something negative, a manipulative situation. You either had to choose between God and therapy as opposed to having them both at the same time.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it's always a necessary conversation. They could have an awareness day monthly. They could have 2 mental health awareness months, and I don't know that it would be enough because of the uniqueness of people all over the place, the uniqueness of our situations and how we're impacted and how we change and adjust to what's taking place in our lives. So there's always a need. Absolutely.
And I do believe that in addition to the awareness that it needs to be conversations and that you need to be in a space to help your mental health, I also believe that the advocacy still needs to be on the government and financial institutions and insurances, because now there's all this buzz about you got to take care of your mental health. They know that it impacts employment, it impacts children, it impacts how we deal with each other as a society. We know that tempers and low frustration tolerances have increased, making people more angry, making them less kind to each other, doing things that would have normally never been an option. Like you would never have thought to do that. So all of that impacts each other, but also realizing that it still has to be affordable to people in order to get that care. And at this point, there are some people who cannot afford to still get the care that they need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, usually I will ask, you know, for a tip or a tool or suggestions, but this episode has been packed with gems, tools, suggestions, and so many takeaways, so many takeaways. And I believe that it is befitting that this is the finale, because this is for the listeners, this is for the viewers, this is for us even, to have something to take away, a tangible tool, a tangible option or idea, to be able to reach out and connect, and to benefit to the betterment of our mental health care. So tell the listeners and viewers how they can find you, what you have coming up, and any other final thoughts.
So you can find me on all of the platforms. It's Shaaree McAlpin. Of course, it's a little difficult to spell, so it's SHAAREEMCCALPINE. And that's what it is on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My website is faithsourcecounseling.com, and you can reach me through that. See what else you asked me. We also have a workshop coming up just to let people know in Michigan how, like we talked about the seasonal disorder, seasonal depression. So I'm going to have a workshop to talk about that. If we get 20 people, they can tell another friend, and then those 20 people. So just trying to do the connection, the branches to connect each other together. And I think my next episode of Fatal Attraction is coming up next week. So I do expert testimony on Fatal Attraction and For My Man. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They can also get my workbook on any platform. It's called Love Notes for My Sisters, and it's on Amazon, and it's also on my website. I appreciate you guys so much for even having this platform. Thank you so much, Mason. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Shaaree. Before I say anything, Angela, do you want to say anything else?
I just want to say to listeners and viewers, do not suffer in silence. I know that may be easier said than done when maybe you've reached out for help before and may not have gotten the feedback or the response that you would have liked to have gotten in that moment. But I just want to say that there is a crisis line. They've simplified it. It's 988 in the USA, 988. Call that. There's a licensed professional waiting to help you. In the UK, the emergency support number is 111. Reach out for help. Do not suffer in silence.
Thank you. Because I think whenever we hear those numbers, it's always very important, because we don't know where you're listening from, what country you're from, and where you're from. So it's all very good that we share those numbers. But this has been a very enjoyable last episode of Mental Health Awakening Specials. It was something different that sprang to mind, I guess, because Mental Health Day was in October, and then other mental health things happened in October as well. So it was very a fitting series. So we will be back next year for Mental Health Awakening again. We don't know. We think we will call it Mental Health Awakening 3 for the third series, but we don't know. But we will definitely be talking about that more. If there will be a mental health awakening for, I'm sure there will. But just how many episodes there will be, because this year was very short. I guess that's why we did specials, to kind of try and get the numbers the same for the first series, because the first series I think run all the way through the month of the year last year, and then this year we had maybe 5 or 6 episodes in May, so in total about 8. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. But thanks to everyone who's listened to these 3 special episodes. And if you continue to listen to the podcast, there'll be an episode on Friday. We're actually with someone who's actually been on the podcast a couple of times. So yeah, I have listened to that one. But if you want to wait for Mental Health Awakening, that will return in May. Seems ages away, I know, but time flies, and yeah, well, it's nearly Halloween, so
yeah,
it's close. But yeah, thank you to Shaaree for joining us today. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I had a great time. I enjoyed it, and I love talking about mental health and helping people to live their best lives.
Yeah, continue doing that, and you'll be helping more people. So it's great what you do. It's great what you do, and thank you. Thanks to Angela as well for coming on again. And I might have Awakening Tops actually as well. And yeah, to anyone listening, watching, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and have a nice day, morning, evening, whatever time it is. And yeah, see you next time.